The Unfiltered by Jade.
Jade. Welcome to The Unfiltered by Jade, where we educate, empower, and entertain. Feel free to like, share, subscribe, download, donate, and make everybody know about this.
Beats by RB Records.
Shopping assistance, your style, your budget. Our services include online and local shopping for individuals and businesses, personal shopping, purchasing of company and office supplies, importing and exporting small packages across Jamaica and worldwide, and helping you find unique gifts and items for all events and occasions. Contact us at 876-919-5195 or shoppingassistance2015@gmail.com. Shopping Assistance, your style, your budget.
Welcome back to The Unfiltered by Jade. We're here today to speak with Nicole Kenwood-Brown. She is a mom, wife, author, speaker, wife coach, and an ordained minister. Today we're going to speak about what does it mean to be a wife. Hi, Nicole.
How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Awesome. I'm great as well.
Nice.
Looking forward to the conversation.
Definitely. It's nice to have you.
Great to be here.
Oh my God. So Nicole, start off first by telling us what's your definition or understanding of what it means to be a wife?
All right. So if we're to look at it generally, then we would come from that place where a wife is, well, we're in a time in society now where it's much broader than just female, right? And so we want to divert a little bit and take it from the perspective of where it all began. And one of the things that we're told in Bible is that the wife was given, we see the old picture in Genesis of how the wife was given, and she was given, and the label that was attached to her was helper, right? And that is somebody that is, based on the definition and the description, is to come alongside the other person to offer assistance, partnership, just generally offer support. And so when a man finds himself with a wife, and we tend to say that there's a difference between a wife and a married woman, right? Yes. So when a man finds himself with a wife, the Bible also says that this is a man that is favored by God. So he's able to tap into realms and dimensions that other men that have not yet moved into the space of husband is able to do, because he's able to access divine favor just because he would have found a wife.
Yes.
And as we said before, the distinction between the wife and the married woman. So she is the one who bears favor. It is so unfortunate that we have not come to that place. So to help someone, it means that you have resources. So a wife is not just a woman who is meant to be in the home and, somehow inferior to her husband, and he is in the place of leadership and authority and she just comes along. The fact that she's been called to help, the fact that she's been called as a partner, the fact that she's been called to offer support, it means that she has in her resources that her husband does not necessarily have. And so whatever it is that her husband has as a vision, that's why it's so important. And that is why a lot of men are not able to tap into the deep resources of their wives, because from the get-go, they do not have a clear vision. The man who has a clear vision for his life is able to tap into the resources, unlock those things that are in his wife that are meant to help him to get to the place that he's supposed to go.
Hmm.
So in essence, that is how, from our perspective, we look at the wife as a helper and all of the deep resources that she has within her to ensure that she's able to basically catapult her man to the next level.
That is right. For first of all, for people who want to know, what's the difference between a wife and a married woman?
Well, the married woman is that woman who is very, very determined um, to just latch on to a man, to just capture a man and just be there saying, all right, this is it. I'm married. I have, you know, it's about the ring. It's about the house. It's about the everything that comes with that. But the woman who, the wife is the one who understands what I just described and is able to tap into that and, really give the man the support that she needs, that he needs, sorry, to ensure that he fulfills his call, right? So she's very, very aware of what she carries, and she continues to really build upon this by moving in a space of continuous personal growth and development, right? So she understands who she is, she understands what she carries, and despite the difficulties that she may be facing, even within her marriage, she's able to walk out that which she has been called to.
So the married woman knows her purpose, essentially.
The wife does, yes.
How has your perception of the role of a wife evolved over the time or through different life stages?
Hey, when when I before getting married, I did not have a clear image of what um a good marriage is supposed to look like.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up, yes, and I saw my grandmother and my grandfather being married, but this for me meant that one was in one bedroom and the other was in the other bedroom, and I'd see those flare-ups and the conflicts, and I didn't see anything of partnership. I didn't see anything where they're pouring into each other, building up each other. I've never seen that. And then, as I grew and moved into other spaces, I also saw this image. I did not see what a good, sustainable, purposeful marriage looked like.
Mm.
And so, even as a little girl, it was, in the Jamaican culture, you would hear, if you cannot, well, you might have a broader audience, so let me just try to stick with what in the Jamaican vernacular, you would hear something like, if you can't wash, if you can't cook, you're not able to keep a man. So it was a lot that surrounded your domestic abilities, how well you are able to ensure that the house is properly taken care of and the needs of your man, along with your bedroom skills, whatever those would have
Yep.
been, to ensure that you were skillful enough to keep your man interested enough that he would not stray from the bedroom. But over time, I've come to recognize that it's so much more.
Yes.
And my own perception has had to have evolved because of my own encounters. Some of the things that
Mm.
I would have encountered in marriage, I came to recognize now that it was so much more than just. The fact is, there are ladies who do not know how to cook but have very good marriages.
Yes, they
They
do.
are not the best in the bedroom, but their men stay.
Yes.
And so I realized that it was so much more than that. And what will be pulled from you as a wife will be unique to your particular situation. So it's not general. Because you have been called to be a helper, it will take on um, the specifics of what your man's vision looks like. Not necessarily meaning that everything that you do is about your man, but because of the role that you have been called to, right? So for
Yes.
some women, being a wife, that in her space, and an effective wife will be that she's in the boardroom as against continuously in the kitchen,
Mm-hmm.
based on the space that she's called to operate in.
Right.
And so I've come to recognize that over time, that it's really not about all of those domestics. A man who has money can easily go to a fine restaurant to dine. Um, there are other persons that are quick to and more skillful as far as sex is concerned with your husband. So it's really not about that. And I have come, as I said before, based on my own personal experiences and the revelations that I've come upon in my own marriage, that it's far, far greater than just being adept in these areas.
What misconceptions or stereotypes about being a wife would you like to challenge or debunk?
First, let me tell you this. Marriage is no walk in the park. That's what I've come to realize. Marriage is not easy. There are great marriages, and then there are the others. And even when I met a couple just recently, and they're embarking on celebrating their 50th anniversary, and when they tell you their story, and it's so beautiful to see them. One, they got married when one was 19 and the other was, I think, 17 or 18. To be celebrating 50 years
It's a
is
long
just,
time.
but the road that led to them coming to this place of 50 years was, I mean, there were so many different things that they met along the way
Yes.
and had to navigate together as a team to ensure that they come. So one of the things that I want to say upfront, marriage, it will take work. It's not automatic. It doesn't mean that because you're in love, because you will fall out of love so many different times
Yes.
along the way, right? There has to be other things that sustains you on the journey, right? So it's so much more than just being in love. So it's hard work. Prepare for the work. For those persons who are not yet married or just um just embarking on the journey, prepare for the work. The next thing I want to say based on that, it is not only is it hard work, not only is it hard work, but it is not meant for your personal happiness.
Jesus.
Yes, Jesus is right. When I speak, when I speak to, either in coaching or counseling, and I'm talking to some of the wives, and I say, "What do you think the purpose of your marriage is? Do you think that it was meant to make you happy?" Of course, my husband is supposed to cater to me hand and foot and to ensure that I'm happy. But I want to just quell that right away. It's not meant for your personal happiness, right? Another thing that I'd want to say is that your husband will never ever be able to fulfill all of your needs. Your husband is not meant to complete you, right? And I hear a lot of persons that will tell you that, you need to heal, you need to come into the space as a whole person. But the truth is, while to some extent I do agree, but once we're on a growth path and we're continuously evolving, there are certain levels of growth and wholeness that you will not be able to do outside of marriage.
True.
A wife. You will have to come into the space of marriage and grow within that space. So you will never be completed by your husband, neither will you be able to complete your husband. You will have to ensure that you have other systems in place for those needs that you have that your husband is not able to fulfill. You will have to find them from other support systems that you have set up. You'll have to ensure that you retain your individuality.
Yes.
As much as possible, even though you're called to the space of marriage. So just three things here. One, it's hard work. Two, it's not meant for your happiness. And three, your husband is not meant to complete you or fulfill all of your needs.
But Nicole, many people don't want to get married,
I didn't want to get, I didn't, without all of this information before, I didn't want to get married. That's why I'm making sure that person make informed decisions now when they're going into this space, as against just, meeting your knight in shining armor and riding off into the sunset.
That's TV. That is total TV.
But in fact, it's really TV that has cultured us and prepared many of us for marriage, and it's really not the reality.
And that is why when we get married, we're shocked, culture shock. This is not what we expected.
Oh yes, Absolutely.
And the problem with that is that many times people are not able to hold on and fight because they're not getting what they read in a book and they're not getting what they saw on TV. And it feels like this is not what I signed up for because I signed up to my TV and my book marriage.
The expectations are very, very high.
Yes.
And once you're not able to meet those expectations, and which is why we are so big when it comes to premarital counseling in ensuring that the time is spent to really, really, just explore the entire thing and give a realistic picture of what marriage looks like so persons can come from a very informed space and be able to decide with all of the information given that yes, it's so unfortunate that it's when you get to the altar on the day of the wedding that you are told most times that this thing is not to be entered in lightly.
True. I think the thing with that though, Nicole, is that people are not surrounded by a lot of married people who are willing to be vulnerable and say, hey, oh, we have been together for 50 years, or we have been together for 40 or 30 years, but it has not been easy. What you're seeing is a result of the work that we have put in to continue being together.
Oh yes. And that's one of those things that I'm greatly opposed for, because there are persons who think I'm too vocal in the space. I am too vulnerable with a lot of information. But that was something that I was seeking when I got, especially in the early stages of my marriage.
Oh yeah.
I was looking for mentorship.
Mm-hmm.
I was looking for realistic. When I remember there was a day when we were going to church, and I don't know, for some persons, some of the greatest arguments usually are before you get.
Oh yes.
So we were going to church, and I was pregnant because pregnancy came right on the heel of the marriage, and I was pregnant, so all the hormones and everything happening.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even remember what the argument was about, but we were like going at it in the car. And when I got to church, I was going to the church that my home church.
Mm-hmm.
And so my husband was dropping me off. And when I got to church, I slammed that car door and I was stewing. And I went inside, and this lady came over to me and she said, "What's wrong?" And I'm saying, I want a divorce. This was a few months, because it felt like I just made the biggest mistake of life. Because everybody was so very excited about, the wedding on the beach, and everybody dressed in all white, and it was so very different, and all of these things. Nobody, realistically took the time to say, "Look, Nicole, this is what you're going to be coming upon, and this is how you are supposed to prepare yourself." And so once I get the chance to, I do my best as much as possible to say to people, this thing is not easy, and it takes a level of preparation, and you will always have to be growing. You will always have to be giving you grace to your spouse and giving grace to yourself. And as much as possible, based on what you believe, you will have to involve God in the midst of it.
Oh yes.
Two is better than one.
Oh yeah.
But it says even better than that is three.
Yes.
That threefold cord can never be broken. So whilst two is better than one, and one is able to give you, the sex of your life, and one is able to take in all of the money and allow you to shop down the place, and whatever the dream is in your marriage, with having God in the midst of it, the Bible is letting us know that when you have me there, it gives you such a great advantage.
Yes,
advantage as it relates to so many different things, because we're in a space where marriage is, it's under tremendous attack.
It is.
Left, right, and center. And so one of the greatest advantages, not to say with God in it, you won't have challenges, but with God being in it, you will have somebody to be, in your corner to fight battles that you don't even know that you're fighting.
True. I love that. In a modern context, how has the traditional role of a wife evolved, and what changes do you think are positive or challenging?
Wow. This idea that the wife is a domestic goddess with unlimited skills and capabilities, that really allows her to withstand unbearable pressures while supporting her husband and her family, while he meets his own goals and fulfill his life's vision is something that over time we realize that the image, has been changing. Um, this is what is normally expected of the wife. She's supposed to rise to the occasion. And in a lot of cases, we're still living as, even it's not as blatant, but I still think we live in a society that, that allows a man to dominate. It's not as blatant as I said before. And uh, where we have moved into this space of women being more liberated has allowed for some autonomy as far as that is concerned. But the expectations that a wife is able to really just manage, and men are saying now that women are acting as if they are men
Mm-hmm.
and they're acting too masculine. But it's because of the pressures that are placed upon a wife. If you understand, the Bible says that the man is to deal with the woman as a weaker vessel. So no matter how strong a woman is, no matter how strong your wife is, no matter how competent she is, and I'll tell men over and over, it doesn't matter how loudly your wife speaks or how much she fills a space and takes control. We are looking for men to lead us. We are not unwilling to be submissive. And so I would want men, if there are any men here who are listening, to understand that we are craving your leadership. We're hungry for it. So it's not to say that our grandparents, our grandmothers and our great grandmothers and our mothers were, more feminine and they were more submissive. And no, women are being called now to spaces that they weren't being called to before. And you have to be balancing this thing between being this competent businesswoman, and then you have to come home and take off that and to submit to a man and to come in to nurture children and all of these things. So we wanted to understand that we are looking for your leadership. Even though times are changing, it does not change what the roles are meant to be. We want to honor you, and we want, so those things. um
I'm gonna pick you back on that though, Nicole.
yes.
So there are some women who don't necessarily want a man to lead because they don't want a man to, and I'm gonna quote unquote tell them what to do or how to do
Mm-hmm.
things. So I struggle with that in terms of biblically. As a Christian, you're told that the man is the head of the household. And this all started from Adam and Eve and the fruit that they ate and the curse that was put on humans. Man and a woman. The man will work for the rest of his life and take care of his family. And the woman will be in labor, she will be in pain during labor, and she would take care of the household. People are taking that now, especially women who decide that they don't want a man to lead them, but they want to
Mm.
be in a relationship. A man typically would not stay with a woman if he feels that she's also behaving like a man. Two men aren't going to stay in a house together. And if it is a woman don't want to submit because she also wants to rule, which is biblically, it's the man is supposed to be the head of the household. And I'm not saying that a woman can't make decisions or do anything. I'm just saying,
Right, right, right.
if the man is supposed to be the head of the household and the woman is taking his role, he's not going to want to lead anymore. He's not going to want to stay. So you do have women who want to lead, and you have women who don't want to. The thing is, where are we on that spectrum? Because these days, in the modern context, you have women believing that they should be the head of the household. I have men staying at home now and doing
Yes, yes,
also, so it has
yes,
flipped.
yes.
It has flipped drastically, in
Mm.
some sense. And because of that, to be honest, if a woman can do everything, a woman don't necessarily need a man. If it is,
That's true, but
if
but
it
but
is,
that's really not how it was meant to be.
right.
And even when we look at same-sex relationships, we never usually see two very masculine individuals. There's always one that is leaning to a more, let me use this loosely, a more feminine energy,
Mm-hmm. True. Yes.
and one stands in the masculine space.
Right.
And so it clearly goes to show that two of the same thing
I love that.
coexist. Because even if it comes up, that same dynamic appears in those relationships, there's going to be problems,
I love that. Yes. Yes.
right? And so it goes to show that it goes against nature for two
Mm.
of, wait, let's not even put God in this space right now, but it goes against nature to the extent that even in those spaces, you will not see two of the same personalities
Yes.
appearing.
Yes.
One is
Yes.
always more dominant and one is a little bit more submissive.
Yes.
One will take on a softer approach to life when
Yes.
one and the other leads.
Yes.
And so I don't think it is that we're not really want. I think these women have not been exposed to that type of leadership that allows
Mm.
her to come into that soft feminine space. Um,
Mm.
you have been making decisions all of your life. You have been in charge of everything all of your life. You have met upon men that are, let me use this loosely, effeminate and not,
Mm-hmm.
dominating the space that they've been called to, lacking vision and identity. And so with that, they're not able to, lead you in a capable way. But if you find a man that allows you to come into your soft space, that man that becomes your peace, your comfort. The man who understands that he's to protect you, is to provide for you, is to allow you to feel not just like a queen, but like a princess.
Mm-hmm.
Two
Yeah.
different things,
Yeah.
right? So the queen is the one who rules, the princess is the one who purrs on the chest of her daddy. So
Yep.
if you find, I don't know that there's any woman who would experience that to the fullest and decide that this is not what I want.
Mm.
I think in a lot of these cases, it's because we have not been exposed. A lot of us have not been exposed to that kind of dynamic, and so it's very hard to want to take charge. I'm able to control the situation. Once I'm in control of the situation, I'm in control of how I show up. Not just that, who comes into my space. I'm able to control my emotions. I'm able. I think it's a cry for control
Mm. Yeah.
because we have gone through so many things, and
Mm.
being in a relationship that really fills you up calls for deep vulnerability.
Yes.
After you've been vulnerable for a time and you have been, been really hurt, because for a lot of women, being vulnerable in their relationships, it would have been like casting their pearls before swines.
True.
And when that is trampled upon, what is precious to you is disregarded and, really treated in a particular way. It's very hard for you. So once you find that, what did I really need a man for? So I needed a man for financial security. I needed that man for sex. I needed that man to take me out, and all of these things you begin to list. And then you recognize now that you are in a space of power. I don't need him for sex. I can get toys. I don't need him to take me out. I have my own money. I don't need him to pay my bills because, I even have more than what he has. Then it eliminates that, but that does not mean that there's still not a void, because nature, as we said before, the Bible tells us it's not good for a man, and it
Yeah.
wasn't just Adam, the man, the as it relates to gender, it's not good for people to be alone,
No, it's not. It's
right?
definitely not.
And so I think that there is still that empty space. So even when people are saying, I don't want a husband, Jesus is my husband.
Ah!
Yeah, Jesus is your husband, but you still go home to masturbate. So,
You still
clearly,
tired.
clearly not going to fill,
Ah,
he's not going to fill some of the voids in your life,
true. Very,
right?
very true.
So, so in my personal opinion, that's what's really happening with some of our ladies.
True, true. How do you navigate and balance individual identity and autonomy within the context of being a wife?
For me personally, it's really continuously seeking to embrace and embody my role as a kingdom wife with a
Yes.
unique mission. And even though I have been called to serve alongside my husband and to serve my husband, I also have to recognize that as it was with the men that were given the talents, I was given talents. My
Mm-hmm.
husband he was given gifts, and I also,
Mm-hmm.
given, and I'm going to be called into account for those gifts. So even though I'm a mother of 6 children, five biological and one through marriage, and I am conscious of the fact that I have to nurture them. But if I do not become the person, like fully take on who God has intended me to be, then I will not be the best role model for them.
Mm-hmm.
I will not be able to break negative generational patterns to allow them to come into a better space. I
Mm-hmm.
will not be able to allow them to see, goals realized and visions become, manifested before their eyes. So I try to ensure that I'm not able to always balance everything,
Mm-hmm.
right? Being in different spaces, called to different, wear different hats. But I try as best as possible based on the season that I'm in to prioritize based on that, always, always, always holding before me the vision that God has given me for my life.
Okay. What advice would you give to someone who is about to embark on the journey of marriage or is early in their marriage?
If you're not yet married, insert your own risk. That's a joke. That's a joke. But I'd say to you, um, be in no rush. Whilst there be love at first sight and all of the exciting things that we spoke about before in terms of, how the movies and the books would paint the pictures,
Right.
be in no rush. Take your time. As I said before, it's not easy. And so it's something that you need to be prepared for. You need to be prepared, like Jay just said. There are women who do not want to be led by a man.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are that woman, but you're still desiring to be married, you have to ensure that there's that level of compatibility. The
Yes.
Bible speaks to about being unequally yoked, and a lot of times we tend to lean towards just religious beliefs, but there are so many other things. So
Yes.
take your time to be certain that you both hold the same values.
Yes.
Children will more than likely come into the picture. How will you be raising the children together? What do you have in mind as it relates to finances? And
Mm-hmm.
just the different things that will happen. How will you spend your time? How do
Right.
you plan to enhance this person's life? What are you bringing to the table? And what are you open to receive based on what this person is able to give?
Nice.
And a big thing for me is give heed to what God is saying. Especially if and if you're even not yet a Christian or you're not a Christian, there is something that women have, and it's called intuition.
Mm-hmm.
Like and you just know, and you know that something is off.
Use
If
it.
you
Mm-hmm. Go
that
by
there's
it.
off, give it even more time.
Yes.
Because trust me, whatever is hidden will not be able to stand the test of
Right.
time. Give it even more time.
Yes.
Um, Again, know for a fact that if you're looking to go into marriage to become happy, marriage is not the answer for you. If you're looking to go into marriage for sex, know that there are a lot of unhappy persons in marriage who are not having sex.
Okay.
So no, bear that in mind. Um, Make prayer a priority.
Mm-hmm.
Learn to listen into what God is saying. There were so many things that were uncovered in my own marriage, and it came in the place of prayer. I would not have known otherwise it would not have been revealed in any other way except the Lord would have really just opened my eyes to these things. And not just opened my eyes to them, but when the time came, sustained me through what came as a result of these things.
Mhm.
Right? So there are, let me say this, whilst we bring positive things to the table as well, know that there are what are called generational patterns, generational curses, things that have you know, been in the bloodline for years, generations. Ensure that you do your foundational work.
Yes.
Know what you're going into and begin to tackle those things and ensure that this is somebody who is prepared and ready and willing to take down those generational altars that have been standing for years and willing to break these negative patterns with you. Because if this is not the case, then you might end up in a space where the man that was meant to be um, your deliverer becomes your enemy
Yeah.
because you would have been on two different sides of the fence. So have the conversation. Have those conversations that upset him. Have those conversations that have him thinking deeply. Have those conversations that, and not just for the woman to the man, but vice versa. Have
Mhm.
the dig deeply, because if you do not answer these things before marriage, they will show up and you will have to deal with them. And whilst you're dealing with them in that space, there are more than likely other persons, such as your children, in laws, just different persons that will be impacted because you did not do
The
the
work.
foundation.
Thank you so much for that, Nicole. I want you to let us know where is it that we can find you.
Like I'm all over the place.
Ah.
They have Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, and TikTok.
As what?
So on Facebook, it's Nicole Kenwood-Brown as well. That's also on LinkedIn. Instagram, it's at Nicole A. Kenwood. Twitter, the same. YouTube, it's Labor Free Wives. And on TikTok, it's Nicole Kenwood 1.
Okay, so those are her contacts. So if anybody wants to get in touch with her, they can do so via those means. And thank you so much, Nicole, for this wonderful conversation that we've had for people who are looking forward to get married or who are married and struggling or who doesn't actually know what a wife entails or what a wife means. And those who want help to navigate this role of being a wife. Yeah, because it can be a lot. So thank you
It
so much for the
it can
insight.
be, and just to just chime in here. We offer a 20 minutes free, what we call heart to heart conversations.
Hmm.
It's a 20 minutes free consultation for persons who are just really burdened by what is happening with them and would just like to have somebody to talk to. Just to offload for 20 minutes. It can be accessed through any of my social media pages. Um, or you can just go on and send me a direct message, and from there we can have the conversation and decide if we will be going any further.
Nice. And do you do coaching for women?
Yes, I do relationship counseling, and I do coaching, primarily offering support to women who are in difficult marriages.
Nice. Nice. I love that. I love that. There's actually an avenue that women can turn to and go to for support. Because sometimes we need the support, but then the avenues or the support systems are not helpful for the marriage that we're
I know, and I tried to create something that I had needed and could not find.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much for doing that for a woman. Yeah.
Absolutely no problem.
And thank you so much to our listeners on the Unfiltered by Jade. And we'll be back next week, Tuesday. Thank you.